My parents gave the condo I bought to my sister. I stopped paying the mortgage, and the bank auctioned it off. But that's not even the real story. The real story is what my father admitted when I confronted him at the bank the next morning. He didn't just give away the condo I'd been paying for, he'd been stealing from me for 3 years. And what I did next, they never saw coming. Before I go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me where are you watching from? I want to know how far this reaches. Because what I'm about to tell you about my family is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about obligation. My name is Jordan. I'm 28 years old. I work in tech, software engineering at a company you've probably heard of but I'm not going to name. I'm good at what I do. I make decent money. I live alone now, but for most of my adult life I shared apartments with roommates because I was saving every dollar I could. Not for vacations or a new car. I was saving for something I never asked for but somehow owed anyway. I'm the older of 2 kids. My sister Sienna is 25. And if you grew up in a family where one child was the responsible one and the other was the favorite, you already know exactly how this story starts. I was the child with expectations. Sienna was the child with excuses. I remember being 12 years old, sitting at the kitchen table doing homework until midnight while Sienna watched TV in the living room. If I brought home anything less than an A, my father would sit me down and give me the speech about wasting my potential, about how I was better than this, about how I needed to try harder. When Sienna brought home C's and D's, my mother would smile and say she's exploring her creativity, she'll find her path. The double standard was so obvious I could see it even as a kid, but I learned not to mention it. Mentioning it made things worse. I studied every night while Sienna went to parties. I got into technical school with scholarships and grants I'd worked myself half to death to earn. She dropped out of high school our senior year because she said it was boring, said she'd get her GED eventually. She never did. And somehow, in the twisted mathematics of my family, her failures made me owe more. Because I'd succeeded. Because I had opportunities. Because I'd made something of myself, I was now responsible for making something of her life too. My parents paid $40,000 for my college education. They took out loans. They drained their savings. And from the day I graduated, they made sure I never forgot it. We sacrificed everything for you, they'd say. Don't forget where you come from. At first I thought they were just trying to keep me humble. Teach me gratitude. But over time, years, really, I started to understand what they were actually doing. They were building a debt. One I'd never agreed to but would spend the next 8 years trying to pay back. And what I didn't know yet was that even when I thought I'd paid it off, they'd still find ways to make me keep paying. When I was 18 and they told me they were paying for school, I actually tried to stop them. I said I'd take out loans myself, pay them back after I got a job. But my father shut that down immediately. You're too young to understand how loans work, he said. The interest rates would bury you. You'd end up paying back 1.5 times the principal. We'll handle this. Trust us. And I did. Because I was 18 and they were my parents and I thought that's what love looked like. Sacrifice without strings attached. I was wrong about the strings. I just couldn't see them yet. I graduated. Got a job exactly like they wanted, tech sector, stable, well-paid, everything they'd molded me to become. And exactly 1 year into my career, barely 12 months of paychecks under my belt, they made their first move. We were having dinner at their rental house. It was a Saturday. I remember because I'd driven 3 hours to visit for the weekend, something I did maybe once every few months back then. My mother had made pot roast, my favorite, which should have been my first warning sign. She only made pot roast when she wanted something. We were halfway through the meal, making small talk about work and the weather and Sienna's latest creative project that would definitely take off this time, when my father set down his fork. He looked at me with this expression I'd seen 1,000 times growing up, the one that said we're about to have a serious conversation and you're going to listen. We did our part paying for your education, he said. Now it's your turn. You should start planning to buy us a house soon. We can't live in a rental forever. Not at our age. A house. He said it like he was suggesting I pick up milk on the way home. Like it was the most reasonable request in the world. I was 23 years old. I was sharing a bedroom with 2 roommates in an apartment where the heat barely worked. I was eating ramen 4 nights a week so I could save money for a car that didn't break down every other month. And he wanted me to buy them a house. I tried to push back. Dad, I just started working. I can't even afford my own rent. How am I supposed to buy a house? He waved his hand like I was being dramatic. I'm not asking for it tomorrow. I'm just planting the idea. Plan for it. Work hard. Make it happen. And my mother, sweet as poison, added we paid for your university without hesitation. You should do the same for us. Think of it as paying us back. I left that dinner feeling like I'd been handed a life sentence. And for the next 5 years, that's exactly what it was. A sentence I served 1 month at a time, one paycheck at a time, one conversation at a time where they reminded me what I owed. I worked 50, sometimes 60-hour weeks. Took every overtime shift they offered. Said yes to projects no one else wanted because they came with bonuses. I saved every dollar I could squeeze out of my paycheck. Stopped going out with coworkers for drinks. Stopped dating because dates cost money and money was for the house fund. I wore the same 5 shirts for 3 years because new clothes weren't in the budget. My roommates thought I was crazy. They'd invite me out and I'd say I couldn't afford it and they'd laugh because they knew what I made. They didn't know about the debt I was paying. The one that lived in my parents' voices every time they called. I stopped visiting as much because every time I did, the conversation would circle back to the house. When are you going to buy it? Have you been saving? Don't forget what we did for you. Don't forget how much we sacrificed. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. The words changed but the message stayed the same. You owe us. You owe us. You owe us. And after 5 years of that drumbeat playing in my head every single day, after 5 years of living like I was broke while my bank account slowly grew, I finally gave in. Not because I wanted to. Because I was exhausted. Because it was easier to just do it than to keep fighting. Because some part of me still believed that if I did this one thing, this one huge impossible thing, they'd finally be satisfied. They'd finally be proud. They'd finally stop seeing me as an investment and start seeing me as their son. I bought them a condo. $280,000. Downtown, decent neighborhood, modest but nice. I set the mortgage up in my father's name to protect my own credit. I had plans for my future, a car I wanted to buy, maybe my own place someday. I started paying the mortgage. $1,450 a month. And because I wanted to be done with this obligation as fast as possible, I sent an extra $400 every month to pay down the principal early. $1,850 total, every single month, for 3 years straight. I thought that extra $400 would cut years off the loan. Thought I'd have them paid off in 5 years instead of 8, and then, finally, I could start living for myself. I sent my father an email the first month I started the extra payments. I told him exactly what it was for. Paying down the principal faster, I wrote. This way you'll own it outright in 5 years. He replied, sounds good, really appreciate it. I saved that email. Didn't know I'd need it later, but I saved it anyway. For 3 years I paid that mortgage like it was oxygen. Never missed a month. Never complained. I watched my parents show off the condo to their friends, watched them brag about how their investment in me had paid off. And I kept my distance. Visited maybe twice a year. Told myself I just needed to get through the payments and then I'd be free. 2 months ago, I decided to visit them. Hadn't seen them in almost a year, work had been brutal, lots of travel, lots of overtime. I didn't call ahead. I wanted to surprise them. I drove to the condo on a Saturday afternoon thinking I'd spend the day with my parents, maybe grab dinner, pretend we were a normal family for a few hours. I pulled up and saw my sister's car in the driveway. I smiled. I actually smiled. Hadn't seen Sienna since her wedding 3 years ago. We drifted apart the way siblings do when one moves away and life gets busy. But I remembered her wedding, how happy she'd looked, how my parents had cried during the ceremony, how for one day it felt like we were actually a family instead of a collection of people playing roles. I thought maybe this would be a chance to reconnect. Maybe we could all have dinner together. Maybe it would be nice. I walked up to the door and knocked. The door I'd paid for. The knocker I'd chosen when the builder asked what hardware we wanted. The welcome mat I'd bought because my mother liked the one with the flowers. Sienna answered. She was in pajamas. 2 in the afternoon on a Saturday and she was in pajamas, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, looking at me like I was a door-to-door salesman who'd interrupted her lazy weekend. What are you doing here? She said. Not hi. Not oh my god Jordan, it's been forever. Not come in, I've missed you. What are you doing here? Like I was trespassing. I laughed it off. Thought she was joking. Could ask you the same thing. Where are mom and dad? She walked back to the couch and sat down like she owned the place. Like she'd lived there for years. Like this was her home and I was the visitor. Oh, they moved. The room tilted. I swear to God the room actually tilted sideways for a second. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. They moved? What do you mean they moved? This is their condo. Sienna shrugged. One shoulder. Casual. Like we were talking about the weather. Didn't tell you? They gave it to me. I live here now. The words hit me like a physical blow. I felt my hands go cold despite the warm afternoon. Felt my stomach drop like I was on a roller coaster. Felt every cell in my body trying to reject what I'd just heard because it couldn't be true. It couldn't be. They gave you the condo? Yeah. She said it like it was the most normal thing in the world. Like she was telling me they'd given her a sweater. They said I needed it more. I'm planning on having a baby soon, and they thought I should have the condo. Where are they living now? They're renting an apartment across town. I stood there trying to make my brain accept what my ears had just heard. My parents, the parents I'd been paying $1,850 a month for, the parents whose mortgage I'd been bleeding myself dry to cover, had given away the condo to my sister, who had never paid a dime for anything in her life. And they were now renting some apartment across town while I funded a home for Sienna's future hypothetical baby. I left without saying another word. Didn't trust myself to speak. Didn't trust what would come out of my mouth if I opened it. I got in my car. Gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Sat there for a full minute just trying to breathe. Trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. Trying to figure out if this was real or if I'd somehow misunderstood. But I hadn't misunderstood. They'd given away the condo. My condo. The one I'd bled myself dry to pay for. Given it away. To Sienna. Who'd never paid for anything in her life. Who'd dropped out of high school and bounced from job to job. They'd given it to her. I drove straight to the address Sienna gave me for my parents' new place. Some apartment complex on the other side of town. Older building. Smaller units. Cheaper rent. I didn't park carefully. Didn't check the lines. Just stopped the car and got out and walked up to their unit like I was marching into battle. I didn't knock politely. I pounded on that door like I was trying to break it down. Like I wanted the whole complex to hear. My mother opened it. She smiled. She actually smiled at me. Like this was a pleasant surprise. Like I was dropping by for a social visit. What the hell is going on? I said. Sienna just told me you gave her the condo. The condo I bought. The condo I've been paying for 3 years. Can you explain this to me? Calm down, sweetheart, she said in that voice she uses when she thinks I'm being dramatic. Come in. We didn't think it would bother you. She stepped aside like she expected me to just walk in and sit down and have tea and act like this was normal. I walked in but I didn't sit down. I stood in their living room, their smaller, cheaper, wronger living room that they were renting because they'd given away the place I'd bought them, and I felt like I was losing my mind completely. Like I'd woken in an alternate world, where absolutely nothing at all made any sense. My mother sighed like I was being difficult. Well, we thought since things are going so well for you, you wouldn't mind. Sienna is planning on having a baby. Don't you want your future niece or nephew to be born in a stable home? Not in a rental where they'll grow up in an unstable environment? Now that they have the condo, they won't need to worry about rent. They can focus on the well-being of their child. I don't care where my nephews and nieces are born, I said. My voice was rising and I couldn't stop it. I don't care if they live in a rental house, we did. I still live in a rental and it's not my problem. If Sienna wants stability, she and Blake should get better jobs. My father came out of the bedroom. What's all this fuss about? She needs financial security. We had to give her the condo. She didn't have the opportunities you did. We didn't pay for her college, so she deserves the condo. I stared at him. You didn't pay for her college because she never went to college. She dropped out of high school. They kept talking like I hadn't said anything. You're successful. You can buy another condo. Sure, I said. I will. But it'll be for me. Not for you. I left. Checked into a hotel. Laid on the bed staring at the ceiling trying to figure out how this was my life. And then I realized I needed to see exactly how much was left on that mortgage. Needed to know the numbers. Because something about all of this wasn't adding up and I needed to see it in black and white. I texted my father. Take me to the bank tomorrow. I want to check the remaining balance. What I didn't know yet was that the condo wasn't the only thing they'd stolen from me. The next morning we went to the bank. My father was quiet in the car. I thought he was just embarrassed about the condo situation. Didn't realize he was nervous about something much worse. The bank manager pulled up the account. Showed us the payment history. I looked at the screen and something felt wrong immediately. There must be some mistake, I said. We've been paying almost double the mortgage amount each month. I pulled out my phone. Showed the manager my transaction history. Look, I've been sending $1,850 every month for 3 years. The mortgage is only $1,450. Where's the extra $400 going? My father grabbed my arm. The manager's data is correct, he said quickly. We're only paying what's due on the mortgage. Let's talk about this later. The manager kept going through the remaining balance, talking about consolidation options, other financial products we might be interested in. I didn't hear any of it. I just sat there with my father's hand on my arm and a sick feeling spreading through my stomach. Outside the bank, my father pulled me aside. Why are we talking about the extra money you sent? I yanked my arm away. Of course I sent it for the mortgage. What else would I send extra money for? I told you that money was for the mortgage. I thought you were sending it for our expenses, he said. I used it to pay our rent. I sat down on a bench outside the bank. Put my head in my hands. $12,000. $400 a month for 36 months. $12,000 he'd taken from me while I thought I was paying down a mortgage. $12,000 he'd used to pay for an apartment he moved into after giving away the condo I was still paying for. Don't make a scene, my father said. It's not a big deal. I stood up. It's not a big deal? You made me buy you a condo, then you gave it to Sienna without telling me. And on top of that, you stole $12,000 from me to pay your rent. He actually got angry. Don't you dare raise your voice at me. You didn't do me a favor by buying that condo. I spent all my savings paying for your college. I don't need to explain what I do with money you send me. You sent it, I paid the mortgage on time. What's the problem if I use the extra for rent? It's not like we were asking for more. I walked away while he was still talking. Heard him shouting my name behind me, but I didn't turn around. I got on the subway and rode it for an hour, no destination, just moving. And somewhere in that hour, I made a decision that would change everything. Pause right here. I need to know what you're thinking. Comment 1 if you think I should have seen this coming from the beginning. Comment 2 if you think my parents genuinely believed they were doing the right thing. Because what I discovered next proved one of us right. And it definitely wasn't them. I spent that night in the hotel building a case. I opened my laptop and I built a spreadsheet. 3 years of bank statements. Every single payment I'd sent to my father. $1,850 every month for 36 months. Total sent, $66,600. I highlighted every memo line. Mortgage plus extra for principal. Mortgage plus extra for principal. 36 times I'd written those exact words. Then I went through my emails. Found the one from year 1 where I'd told him explicitly that I was sending extra to pay down the principal faster. Found his reply. Sounds good, really appreciate this. Proof that he knew. Proof that he understood. Proof that when he took that money and spent it on his rent, he knew exactly what he was stealing. I found text messages. Screenshots of conversations where I'd said sent this month's payment plus extra. His replies, got it thanks. Got it thanks. Got it thanks. For 3 years. I printed all of it. Created a folder. Evidence. Not because I was planning to sue, I knew I'd never see that money again. I created it because I needed to see it. Needed proof that I wasn't crazy. That this had really happened. That my family had really done this to me. And then I did the one thing I should have done years ago. I opened my banking app. Found the recurring payment to my father. And I canceled it. One click. 8 years of obligation, gone. I flew home the next day. And I blocked them. All of them. My father, my mother, Sienna, her husband Blake. Blocked their numbers, their emails, their social media. Complete communication blackout. Because I knew what was coming. I knew that when the mortgage payment didn't show up on the first of the month, they'd start calling. Start texting. Start leaving voicemails about emergencies and family, and how could I do this to them? And I was done. Completely, permanently done. The first of the month came. I didn't send the payment. My father called. The call went straight to voicemail because he was blocked. He tried texting. Message failed to deliver. He got a different number, called again. I blocked that one too. The voicemail started coming from unknown numbers. Jordan, what's going on? The payment didn't go through. Call me back. We need to talk about this. You can't just stop paying. But I could. And I did. Week 2, my mother started calling from different numbers. I answered one by accident, thought it was work. Her voice came through, crying. Jordan, please. We need to talk. We can work something out. You gave away the condo I was paying for, I said. You stole $12,000 from me. There's nothing to work out. I'm done. But we're family. I hung up. Blocked the number. She sent a text from someone else's phone. Your father is having chest pains from the stress. You're killing him. I read it. Felt a flicker of guilt. Then I remembered the bank. Remembered his face when he said it's not a big deal. Deleted the text. Blocked the number. Week 3, my father showed up at my apartment. I came home from work and there he was, waiting outside my building. You can't just leave like this, he said. You owe us. We paid for your college. We raised you. Who do you think you are? I've already paid you back, I said. I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. Do you realize how much I've spent on that mortgage? It's more than what you paid for my tuition. I don't owe you anything. You're ungrateful. No, I said. You can't make me feel guilty anymore. I've done enough. I'm not paying the condo, the rent, or anything else. You made your decision. Now deal with the consequences. I walked past him to my car. Drove away while he was still yelling. Didn't come back for hours. When I finally returned, he was gone. But I knew he'd be back. Knew they wouldn't give up that easily. So I built walls. Digital walls, physical walls, emotional walls. And I defended them. My cousin Maya was the only family member I stayed in touch with. She'd always been neutral, never asked me for anything, never took sides. She started giving me updates. Not because I asked, just because she thought I should know. Month 3, she told me my parents were draining their savings to make the mortgage payments. My father had picked up a part-time job at a hardware store. He was 62. Supposed to be thinking about retirement. Instead he was working retail because I'd stopped funding their lives. Did you know they have $14,000 of my money? I told Maya. They could use that to pay the mortgage. They're choosing not to. Month 4, my parents went to Sienna. Asked her to start paying 50% of the mortgage since the condo was hers now. And my sister, my entitled, spoiled, never paid for anything in her life sister, said no. You gave it to me, she told them. It was a gift. Gifts don't come with payments. You should cover the mortgage. Her husband backed her up. This is between you and Jordan. We're not involved. I laughed when Maya told me. Actually laughed. For 35 years my parents had protected Sienna from consequences. Taught her the world would give her things for free. And now she was using that lesson against them. Month 6, my father called me from his work phone. I didn't recognize the number so I answered. Jordan, please, he said. We need help. Just this 1 month. You have 2 choices, I said. Sell the condo and pay me back. Or let it foreclose. I'm not sending money. I hung up. He called back 15 times. 15. I blocked the number and went back to work. Month 8, they missed their 3rd payment. The bank initiated foreclosure. Sienna got the notice on the door and called my parents screaming. Fix this, she yelled. I'm pregnant. Where am I supposed to go? They couldn't fix it. They were out of money, out of options, out of people to manipulate. Sienna tried calling me, messaging me on LinkedIn, posting vague things on social media about family abandonment. I didn't respond to any of it. I'd built my walls and they were holding. Month 11, the bank set a foreclosure sale date. Sienna had to pack up and move out. Blake's parents refused to let them move in. You made this mess, they said. Figure it out yourselves. Sienna and Blake ended up in a cheap apartment in a bad neighborhood. Nothing like the condo. Nothing like the life they thought they were entitled to. The condo sold at auction for $275,000. The bank took what they were owed. After fees and costs, my father got a check for $27,000. He called me one more time. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. What? I said. The condo sold, he said. I got $27,000. I want you to know I'm keeping it. For my retirement. You're not getting a cent. I didn't expect a cent, I said. Keep it. You'll need it. That's it? You're not going to argue? You spent $40,000 on my college. I paid $52,000 on your condo plus $14,000 you stole. That's $66,000 total. You got $27,000 back from the sale. Congratulations. You made a profit on your investment in me. Goodbye, Martin. I hung up. Blocked the last number. And sat in my apartment feeling nothing. Not angry, not sad. Just done. Over the next year, I rebuilt my life. I rented a nicer apartment. 1 bedroom, my own space, no roommates for the first time in my adult life. I started saving again. Aggressively. And 18 months after I stopped paying their mortgage, I had $45,000 saved for a down payment. I bought a house. $250,000. Modest, comfortable, mine. I listed it under an LLC name so they couldn't find it in public records. I told no one except Maya. No social media posts. No housewarming party. I just moved in quietly and started living. My parents moved into a studio apartment with the $27,000 from the auction. Within a year, that money was gone. Medical bills, living expenses, life. They both ended up working part-time because they couldn't afford to retire. They told people they didn't want to depend on me when they got old. Told people they were taking care of themselves. They cut Sienna off financially. Told her she was on her own. Sienna had her baby in that cheap apartment. Called my parents asking for help with childcare. They said no. We're working full-time. We can't help. Figure it out. She complained to extended family about being abandoned. No one offered to help. They all knew the story. Maya had made sure of that. I lived in my house for 6 months before my father found out where I worked. LinkedIn, probably. He showed up at my office one day. Reception called me. There's a Martin here to see you. My stomach dropped. I went down to the lobby. Didn't let him up to my floor. I need to talk to you, he said. It's important. I have 5 minutes. We need help. We're barely making rent. We deserve a place to live. We've made so many sacrifices. We gave Sienna a condo, we paid for your school. We've done our job as parents. You owe us another place to live. You received $27,000 from the foreclosure, I said. That's almost exactly what you spent on my education. We're even. But that money's gone now. Your opportunity to have a condo was wasted when you gave it to Sienna. If you need housing, ask her to buy you one. I'd love to hear her response. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Goodbye, Martin. I walked away. Went to HR, filed a report about a family member showing up at the workplace. Asked them to inform security not to let him in again. They took it seriously. And I went back to my desk and got back to work. I haven't spoken to my parents in over a year now. Maya updates me sometimes. They're still working, still struggling. Sienna had a second baby. My parents can't help her. They're too busy trying to survive. And me? I painted my living room last week. The week before I started a garden in the backyard. Next month I'm taking a vacation to somewhere I've always wanted to go. Small things. Normal things. Things that shouldn't feel revolutionary but they do. Because for 8 years I lived for someone else's future. Now I'm living for mine. I lost $52,000 in mortgage payments I'll never get back. I lost the relationship with my parents and my sister. Those are real losses. But here's what I gained. A life where my value isn't measured in how much money I can send. A home that's mine with no strings attached. Peace that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. I paid for my education twice. Once in tuition. Once in learning that obligation isn't love, and that sacrifice doesn't grant ownership over someone's life. My father said I owe them another place to live. He's wrong. I don't owe them anything. Not another dollar. Not another chance. Not another conversation. What I owe is to myself. And I'm finally paying that debt. If this story hit you, hit that like button right now. Because stories like this need to reach people who've been funding someone else's life while their own dreams collect dust. You're not cruel for stopping. You're not selfish for choosing yourself. You're just finally paying the debt you actually owe, the one to your own future. Subscribe for the next one.